We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Calvin Smith with us from Meharry, talking about COVID, Omicron, the very latest and all this. Look at him just sitting there. I need to make sure, have you had a nutritious breakfast yet this morning, doctor?
I've had the most important thing that I need for me, and that's my coffee.
You and me both. It's good to see him. He's a friend, and he's terrific on answering some of these questions. We got some phone calls, so let's get to those. We'll start off with Ann. Ann, good morning. Hi, Ann.
Good morning. Because of a relative who didn't mask and didn't believe in vaccines and believed in the 6-foot rule, on January 3rd, although I was fully vaccinated and boosted, I was extremely worn down after taking care of a relative for 4 months, and I contracted COVID.
Oh, boy.
Now, 3 weeks later, I still have the sinus and some congestion that I'm still coughing up. I got my booster way back, August, because of my lupus. I was in the first rounds, and so I'm already thinking another booster, and I'm already thinking what comes after Omicron, because I know good and well I would have been one of those in the hospital, and my family probably would be grieving had I not been fully 100% vaccinated and boosted. So what can you tell me I've been trusting in you all along. Where do we stand on the next booster? Because I know I was fully masked, was able to go in and out of Vanderbilt Hospital for 4 months without getting COVID and being exposed to people right and left. And I was protected until I was exposed by a relative. So I trust you, and I'll listen.
Thank you, Ann, and I'm sorry to hear that you came down with it. I know you were so cautious, but you sound well, and you do take care of yourself. How about that, doctor?
So first and foremost, I was looking forward. I knew Ann would call in, and I was happy to hear her voice. So I'm sorry that you had to go through that, Ann. I can say without a doubt that the booster has helped tremendously in keeping people out of the hospital, like Ann, for the most part, who otherwise probably would have been in the hospital. But I think to her point, we are probably going to see another booster shot somewhere in the future. The good news is that Omicron we thought initially that maybe the boosters weren't working, but based on how severely ill people are or not, has been made very clear that the booster shot is working. So we have that evidence that the boosters that we currently have are working. The best thing to do right now is to get everybody around boosted. But we know realistically, I mean, we're in 2.5 years, or 2 years into this thing now. We know that that's probably not going to happen in a way that we want. So the evidence is looking like there'll probably be another booster here in the next few months or so. But right now, I want to just really say that especially the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines have proven to be very, very, very effective at preventing severe illness. But again, every time I hear Ann, I want to just point out that it's people like her that we need to look out for. It's not just about me,
right.
And it's not just about you, Nick. It's about the people around us. And the more thoughtful we can be to the people around us, the better our outcomes will be. So, Ann, I'm sorry, and I know, for the people that I know that have had to deal with it, this is not fun. It's not, it's not a walk in the park. And you have these symptoms for quite a while. So I'm really sorry.
A couple follow-ups on that. One, do we think, when we talk about another booster, are any of the pharmaceutical companies working on a vaccine specific to Omicron, perhaps, that would come about? Or is it going to be the same, booster that we got before?
No, I'm not seeing anything specific to Omicron. And I don't think that, to be honest with you, Nick, the way that viruses tend to run, that wouldn't really be practical for the long range outcomes. You know what I mean? I think that we want to make sure that the booster certainly has effectiveness against Omicron. But I think a smart booster, and the way that they've been doing them, to the credit of these companies, you want to anticipate what changes may occur. For instance, they've looked at how this virus transmits itself, and it transmits itself through the spike proteins. That's something that they knew relatively certainly. And so they have been directing a lot of the buildup of the vaccines to that end. And so I think we're going to see that they're going to be more, I don't want to say more specific, but a little bit more broader in terms of protection, while keeping in mind the ones that are super contagious are the ones that have multiple changes on that spike protein.
Okay, and one more quick question before we get to the phone calls there. We have some more for you, but real quick, what if I were to go on my own right now, and I'm kind of like Ann, I got my booster pretty early on and went in and just got another booster, another shot. I just went to one of the places and didn't bring my card. I don't know if they keep track anyway. I guess they try to, but if I went in and said, no, I didn't get mine, I want another one now. If I went and got a second booster right now, and I bet you there's people out there that have done that, one way or the other, what would happen?
So I had to go back and read into my Harrisons and my textbooks to really understand the immunity portion of this between our last talk and this talk today. And I want to point out to people, it's really not the best thing to do. And here's the reason why. You overwhelm your immune system when you are getting these boosters kind of back to back to back to back. And specifically boosters for the same virus. Like your body can learn to deal with a couple of different things all at once, like how we were in high school and we took English and math and science and history all together. You know what I mean? Like if you're learning different topics, that's one thing. But if you are taking calculus and you're taking trig and you're taking advanced matrices and all these things all at once, that's a bit much. So I liken it to that. Really give the booster that you have some time to really teach those T cells how to deal with Omicron and how to protect you from, it might not stop Omicron from getting into the building. That's what we're looking at. Omicron's getting into the building. It's kicking the doors down. But you're definitely keeping it from wreaking havoc, from breaking the bottles and stabbing everybody and shooting everybody in the club. You know what I mean? Okay. So we can't keep them out of the club, but we can keep them from wreaking havoc. And that's what the booster's doing. So let the booster do its job for a little while. And then, when evidence comes out that the boosters are not quite doing the job as well as they need to in terms of protection from severe illness, then we can kind of go back in and think and reconsider. But don't overwhelm your immune system. Good advice there, sir. And that may be 6 to 8 months down the line when we come back and revisit it. But I like that. The booster is the bouncer. Yes.
Protects it. They may get in the door, but then they make sure things don't get crazy. Let's get to some more phone calls, and we'll go next to James. James, good morning. Hi, James.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind, James?
I took mine. I'm glad I did because I've been exposed multiple times to all of it. And my question is, if there's a side effect and the side effect was your ears falling off from it, I don't see nobody walking around going, what? Huh? What? Everybody's got their ears. Take the shot.
I'm with you. Listen, thank you, James, and good for you. Have there been some side effects? Like any time there's vaccines, there's always going to be a small segment of the population that may actually have some legitimate side effects. What have we seen, if anything, that comes with the booster, perhaps?
So, Nick, we're about a year out from having the introduction of the boosters. And I'll tell you, in my clinic, in my personal experience, I have not seen anyone with any severe, long-lasting side effects. The side effects are the exact same side effects as every other booster or every other vaccine that we know of so far, in terms of reaction site, maybe reactions to some of the components of the vaccine. So, if you have some proteins that you are allergic to or something along those lines, then that may happen. Those are so few and far between that if I were to just randomly poll some of my colleagues out in the primary care world and just say, hey, just tell me about one case that you know of somebody having a severe reaction, I'd be on the phone for quite a long time to try to get somebody to tell me about one. It's just not out there, Nick. Yeah. I want to say, like, there was an athlete, John Stockton, that I really had a lot of admiration for. Came out this weekend, said hundreds of athletes died from the vaccine. No evidence whatsoever. This would be a major news story. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to hide this kind of information. Where are those hundreds of athletes that died, John Stockton? They're not there. And so, but because he has some name value and some word value, and people associate him with being very good at what he does in terms of distributing the basketball, that he has some credibility. And I find that to be kind of crazy. Like, it's just not out there. The evidence isn't there. You may anecdotally know one person who had a severe flu or had, some lymph node swelling or something along those lines. But ask them how they're doing now. If someone died around the time of the vaccine being given to them, the evidence is showing that it more likely than not was directly related to something else and not that vaccine at this point. There's no evidence.
Yeah, it's a shame some of these high-profile individuals, getting some press over this. John Stockton, exactly. Someone that I respected as a basketball player. I lost all respect for that man. Gonzaga has pulled his season tickets. He's not allowed to go to any games. Good for Gonzaga. Aaron Rodgers, knucklehead, okay? Eric Clapton. And sadly, we saw this past week, the rock star Meatloaf died. And again, tragic. And I hate that, but it came out after the fact. He did die of COVID, and he was anti-vax. And he said, I'm going to be fine. I'm sick of my life being controlled by this. If I die, I die. And that's what happened.
Yeah,
it's tragic.
I hate to see cases like that. I feel really bad for family members who have been fighting. For people like yourself, Nick, I don't want to lose any friends. I've been very thankful, very grateful that my friend group tends to be, I've curated a group of people who tend to be pretty reasonable. But a lot of my friends have friends that are not so much reasonable. And it's really difficult for them, to have to go through, you build a lifetime of meeting people, going through stuff with people, having things in common with people. And then something like this happens and kind of rips the fabric of it. And this has been devastating on so many levels. It's not just about the illness. It has really shown us a lot about us as a people, some things that are uncomfortable and unfortunate about us as people, but hopefully we can learn from it. I'm staying hopeful, Nick, that people gradually will learn, and I try to be patient because I understand everybody comes to things in different ways, but it's so hard and to the point that you're making, man. I mean, like you don't have the obligation that I have. So I definitely understand. A lot of my friends are very, very frustrated. A lot of people are very, upset just in terms of the prevention aspect of this thing. But my advice to you, Nick, is just to stay encouraged, man. It's going to get better for you.
And you're right. And you always bring that attitude. And that's all you can do. And you're right. More people coming around. Let's take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls. Mark, Tom, Ray, and others. Stay on the line. Donna as well. We'll get to those phone calls. Popular guy, this doctor, right after this.